Hey, what's up? Daryl here from the JCR Garage. Today I'm going to show you how to install our Gladiator rear aluminum inner fenders. These things really finish off the inner wheel well on the Gladiator, and they work with our fenders or with the factory fenders. They're really easy to install. Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove this factory plastic inner fender. And some sweaty man already did this for me, so I'm going to show you his video. I'm so sweaty.
The first step is removing your stock inner and outer fenders. Now, the inner fender does not work with our fenders, so if you're not installing one of our inner fender kits, you can go ahead and paint the inside or just leave it body color if you wish. Now, the way we recommend is to go ahead and separate the inner and the outer fender. You can start with, there are these plastic rivets along the outside edge. And if you have a trim tool or some sort of pry tool, these trim tools with the U in them work really well for popping these rivets. Once you have the outside rivets popped off, there are some clips on the inside. There's one on the front and back, there's one back here, and then there's two up into the body. You need to go ahead and pop those out also. So the last step in removing this inner fender is removing these three 8mm bolts. Once you have those out, go ahead and just pull your inner liner out of the vehicle.
All right, now these require you drill one hole, and that hole is right there. So you're going to want to measure down 3/4 of an inch, and you're going to want to measure over about 1 1/8 of an inch. And I say 1 1/8 because we actually slotted that hole. So really anywhere you are kind of in this area, that'll be okay. But the important measurement is you're going to want to measure down 3/4 of an inch. You're going to want to drill the hole up to a 1/2 inch. I find a step bit works really great with that because you can start small and then work your way up. So drill that hole that you just marked to a 1/2 inch. Now you're going to want to touch that hole up since it's bare metal. You can get these little paint markers anywhere, and they make a great way to just touch those up. This is black, but it's all going to get hidden, so it won't really matter. So we just want to keep that from rusting. So you could do it with spray paint as well, but these markers just let you get just a little paint on and not overspray everywhere. And then once that dries, you're going to take this clip nut that we give you, and you're going to pop that over the top of the bracket and center it up in the hole. On the driver's side only, we have to relocate this charcoal canister vent. So we're going to start by removing this nut, and that happens with a 10mm socket. So remove that nut completely. We're going to pull this off the bracket, and then we're going to pull this hose off from this fitting right here. Now we're going to take this hose and we're going to slip it over the top of the filler hose to get it on the opposite side. Now we're going to slide this vent up here and plug it back in to the line that we pushed over. Make sure that's fully seated on that fitting. Now this holds up here pretty well by itself, but if you're worried about it, you can add a zip tie, and then once you get the fender on here, it'll be held even better. Now we're going to go ahead and assemble the fender here. It's pretty simple. This part here slides behind this portion. Then we're going to give you some stainless button heads here and some flange nuts to bolt everything together. You're going to tighten these all down with a 5/32 T-handle or hex socket. Now slide these two clip nuts on this flange here till they lock into the holes. If you have our fenders installed already, you're going to have to remove these two button head bolts here. If you have the factory fenders, you'll have to remove two clips that go here. On the factory fenders, you may have to drill the holes out a little bit for the larger button heads to fit through, but our fenders are designed for these inner fenders. So we didn't have these anymore on our Gladiator to show you, but you're going to have to remove the front and rear clip nut shown here. Now you're going to want to slide this inner fender kind of into place in the region where it goes. You may have to squeeze it a little bit to get it up in there. And once you get it close, the first bolt that you probably want to try to install is this fender bolt that you just removed. Go ahead and loosely thread both of those in right now. Now we're going to install this other 5/16 button head here on the clip nut that we installed earlier, just loosely as well. Now we're going to install this little filler piece in the rear here, and this goes underneath that little flange right there. So I find that the easiest thing to do is to kind of pull this whole situation forward and then sneak this up like that. You're going to use one of the button heads, the 5/16, and then from the back you'll put the nut on. So you just reach your hand up inside the rear fender well and put a flange nut on that button head. Now you're going to install one more 5/16 button head here on the bottom with a flange nut on the back. The last two bolts we're going to install are these right here. So we have a longer 1/4 inch button head here and a long spacer. So you take a spacer and put it behind the inner fender, push the bolt through, and then there's a hole on the inside of the bed already, and then back it with a 1/4 inch flange nut. Now go ahead and tighten all the button heads that you left loose. For the 5/16 ones, you're going to use a 3/16 T-handle or socket. For the 1/4 inch ones, you're going to use a 5/32 T-handle or socket. All right, that's it. Once you get all these bolt tightened, go ahead and do the other side. The only real difference is you don't have to move that charcoal canister. Anyways, if you have any questions about this product or any product here at JCR Off-Road, feel free to shoot us an email at tech@jcr.us or give us a call, 269-353-1184. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.